YouTube, what's good, man? It's your boy Pnfkeith. We back with another reaction. Now let's jump right into this one, y'all. Y'all know I've been keeping up with the whole Iran-US situation. I guess a war is like slowly brewing. I don't know if it's actually gonna make it to the war stage, but as we all know, US struck 3 of their military facilities, their bases, and last night, or I'm guessing earlier today, they struck back. Iran has struck back. They sent missiles at Qatar. So we about to go ahead and jump right into it and check this out and see what's going on, man. Before we get started, I just ask 3 simple things. Leave a like, comment, and subscribe at the end of the video if you enjoy it. Much love. Let's jump right into it.
Right.
Southwest, coming from the direction of Al-Udeid.
Iran's retaliation. Multiple missiles fired towards Al-Udeid Air Base and US Central Command.
That shit looks scary.
These the first retaliatory strikes, with bases across the region put on high alert. The Iranians say this is Operation Annunciation of Victory. First intelligence suggested imminent attacks on the base the British share with the Americans.
Following a US security alert for their nationals in Qatar, out of an abundance of caution, we now recommend that British nationals in Qatar shelter in place until further notice.
Our Commander-in-Chief, Donald J. Trump.
It's just over a month now since Donald Trump visited Al-Udeid Air Base in Qatar as part of his tour of the Middle East, promising commerce over chaos.
Wait, is this the same base that they ended up blowing up, the one that he in right here, say a month ago? That's kind of crazy. Damn, this shit getting deep.
In Qatar as part of his tour of the Middle East, promising commerce over chaos. The events of the weekend have certainly changed that. Earlier, Iran had warned retribution would come to the United States and Israel for the weekend strikes on Iran's nuclear sites. Whatever the scale, the very act of this crime and desecration will not go unanswered, the head of Iran's armed forces warned.
It was pretty obvious when he was going to strike back.
During the course of the day, Tehran's skyline told of a war being waged on many targets. The nuclear strikes of the weekend bringing no pause in Israel's bombardment.
Jeez.
In one day, 100 airstrikes were reportedly carried out by 50 fighter jets.
That shit is insane. 100 strikes in one day. Can you imagine living there and you got 100 strikes dropped on you in one day? You see a bunch of fighter jets flying across, dropping missiles flying all across the sky. It's just, I don't know, it's just crazy because the kids out there, man, and all the innocent people. Everybody just like getting blown up. Everybody's scared for their life. You can't even go to sleep every single day. You can't live a normal life no more. And then the thing that sucks, they can't even leave. It's like they stuck there. This shit is getting crazy.
100 airstrikes were reportedly carried out by 50 fighter jets. The targets said to be the infrastructure of the Iranian government, with, according to Israel, 100 of the Revolutionary Guard Corps killed in one hit. Also in Tehran, a symbolic strike on Evin prison, where thousands of opponents and foreign detainees are held. No prisoners escaped, but Israel's message to strike at bastions of regime control
I bet they didn't
clear.
escape. They probably died.
Iran's missiles continue to fall across Israel, hitting power plants and homes. According to Iran's armed forces, these are the strikes of day-to-day war, not retaliation for America's weekend attacks on the nuclear sites.
All right, so quick question. Since the U.S. is sticking up for Israel, basically, are they allowed to come over here, like all the innocent people and civilians? Like, are they allowed to just come to the U.S.? Or they got to stay over there, like, until they get their green cards and shit? Like, they can't get, like, a temporary card or something? Because this shit getting crazy.
Attacks on the nuclear sites.
Look at that shit. You would think it was a plane in the
It
sky.
seems that retaliation
stars.
is now underway. Emma Murphy, ITV News, Iraq.
Yes, retaliation definitely seems to be playing out this afternoon, Emma. So what do you make of what we've seen so far?
Well, I think it's too early to directly assess what this means for the region, but there's certainly going to be an awful lot of pressure on the American establishment, the administration in Washington as to what they choose to do about this. This was an attempt to directly hit a US base in the region. Donald Trump, when he first announced that he had conducted those strikes over the weekend, said that he warned Iran against any retaliation. So too did the US Secretary of State Marco Rubio. He said that it would be a terrible mistake for the Iranians to respond. Of course,
I'm not gonna lie, I don't know if it's going to make it to World War III, but this definitely about to brew some shit up where it's going to be a bunch of back and forth. Because now Trump about to send missiles back over there, or he might send some troops over there. It's about to start getting crazy, I'm not going to lie. That's just like what I think from outside looking in. Anybody with a common sense, it's going to be a bunch of back and forth. And I understand Trump said he warned them not to retaliate, but you got to think, if you blew their bases up, you think they wasn't going to retaliate, that was kind of common sense no matter what you say. This shit about to get crazy, y'all.
He said that it would be a terrible mistake for the Iranians to respond. Of course, now there will have to be a decision by the Americans whether they allow this to pass to try and avoid escalation, or if they decide that this is something they just cannot take on the chin, such a direct attack on a US base. In terms of the Iranians, well, they say that they fired as many missiles as the Americans did. You could read that potentially as a signal that that is their work done in their own minds, but where this goes from here is not going to be down to them. In terms of what's been going on here over the course of the afternoon, there have been air raid sirens at US bases across the region, including those at the base just behind me here in Iraq. I think the hope for many people will be that the US will absorb this hit, that they will think that this will be almost honor served for Iran, that they had to offer some kind of a response, but it will be a very, very big call for the Americans to decide that they are not going to respond to this, because it was very much a hit directed at American assets here.
OK, thanks very much, Emma. Well, on that note, let's get some reaction from the United States. Our correspondent, Dan Rivers, is in Washington. Emma, they're talking about the fact that Marco Rubio said it'd be terrible for Iran to retaliate, and also has saying that it's a big call if America...
Trump, I said Trump. Trump probably was rubbing his hands like this when he seen these strike back. He's itching to go to war. You can tell Trump is definitely itching to go to war. It's like he been waiting on this his whole life. He definitely it's about to get crazy, y'all. I'm telling you, it's about to get super crazy before things get better. Because Iran, they not just going to lay down. You can tell they're not the people that just lay down.
He said it'd be terrible for Iran to retaliate, and also has saying that it's a big call if America does nothing. So have we had any response from Washington as yet?
We haven't, and that's because they are currently in the Oval Office with the National Security Council convened. Marco Rubio is there along with Donald Trump. The Defence Secretary Pnfkeith and the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff Dan Kane have been in the Situation Room earlier this morning here in Washington, monitoring events, and they will be calibrating now their response as we speak. I think it's interesting and possibly significant that the number of missiles fired by Iran was limited to the number of bombs they claim were dropped on their nuclear facilities. Also, there is reporting that there was a degree of coordination between Iran and Qatar over these strikes, which were aimed, after all, at a US base that had already been evacuated. So it may be that this is Iran's...
And then I seen something about Iran saying that the bases that the U.S. blew up, they already moved all their nuclear weapons and everything in March. They saying they've been prepared for this attack and they moved everything. So basically the U.S. blew up nothing. Which is kind of crazy to think about. They already had their mindset on getting blown up if they really telling the truth. They already in that war mentality. Man.
Already been evacuated. So it may be that this is Iran's symbolic response to this, a response that it felt it had to escalate this.
Unfortunately, we have technical issues there. We'll see if we can talk to him a bit later on in the programme. But that airbase that he was talking about, which has now been evacuated, is also home to not just American military, but also British military personnel. And Carl Dinnan is at the Ministry of Defence for us. Carl, what have you been hearing?
Well, the MOD are still trying to work out exactly what the picture is on the ground at Al Udeid. As you say, there are RAF personnel, British military personnel, who are based there. It's home to the 83rd Expeditionary Air Group, which is a headquarters unit. There aren't usually RAF aircraft there. This is a headquarters unit that coordinates any activities the RAF is carrying out across the region. It's been there for some time. I'm told usually between 30 to 60 personnel there for that unit, and possibly a few others who are attached to the bigger American units there. I mean, the Americans have a lot more people, as many as 10 or 11,000 people normally based at Al Udeid. But as Dan was just saying, there are reports that these attacks were flagged in advance. They may have been known about.
Yeah,
certainly the Foreign Secretary, you heard him in Emma's report, was advising British nationals in Qatar to take cover, basically, to shelter in place, he said. And if they knew that, well, certainly they knew that at Al Udeid Air Base, and as well as whatever sort of air defences they had to protect the air base, which will have...
So basically, they tried to blow it up. They ain't actually get the chance to blow this shit up because they got intercepted. Okay. That's like another reason why I always say the U.S., we be prepared for these situations and these type of things. War is never good, but I feel like if a war has had to happen, I will bet my money and my life on the U.S. out of anybody. We do got the #1 ranked military in the world. I feel like we prepared. Now, that's not me saying that, oh, let your guard down, you ain't got nothing to worry about. It's always something to worry about, especially with a country like Iran, but I feel like we prepared for this shit.
Whatever sort of air defences they had to protect the airbase, which will have obviously been on high alert, they will also have had ways of taking cover within that base. But as I say, the MOD still say they are trying to find out what the situation on the ground is as regards British personnel at Al Udeid.
OK, thanks very much, Carl. Well, let's look at the situation in Israel. Debbie Edward is in Tel Aviv for us. And Debbie, dozens of Brits have left to be repatriated already, and hundreds are likely to follow. So how dangerous is the situation there?
Well, Shireen, we are braced for more Iranian missile attacks. The air raid sirens could go off any minute. We had an alert at 3:30 this morning and then again at 10:30, and we expect that to continue in the hours and days ahead. So for the 63 Britons that have been evacuated on their way back to the UK, they will be breathing a big sigh of relief given the security situation. It was an RAF aircraft that took them from Tel Aviv to Cyprus, and then they'll get on a chartered flight back to the UK tonight. That was the first evacuation flight that the UK has organised since this conflict began 11 days ago. We understand that the UK's chief rabbi was among those on board. Alongside him were people who'd been here visiting family, who'd been here on holiday and got caught up in this war with the daily air sirens and missile strikes. For those we spoke to with young children, it has been particularly stressful. And given that escalating situation that Emma was describing in her lead report, many countries in the region have now closed their airspace, but British Airways was already among the airlines that had already cancelled several flights to the region. So a very worrying time for Britons currently in the region. As it currently appears, there are diminishing safe ways to get out.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, y'all, it's getting spooky. Shit definitely about to start getting even more serious and serious. Get used to seeing a whole bunch of attacks back and forth over these next couple of days. This shit about to get crazy. I feel like it's not going to die down no time soon because Iran, they got the mindset. I feel like they like, you're not about to try to bully us. We not laying down. We don't care. And, you know, the U.S. don't care. Trump, he ready for this shit. He been waiting his whole life for war. So, honestly, I'll say get prepared for more shit to get blown up, more missiles to start flying. And that shit suck for all the innocent people and civilians, man. That shit is crazy, but it's part of life. Whole bunch of part of war, a whole bunch of casualties. Shit sucks, man. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. How y'all feel about the whole situation? And once again, do y'all think a war is actually going to happen, or it's not even going to make it to that point? Do y'all think Iran going to lay down, or the U.S. is going to like force them to like, yo, relax? I don't know. Y'all let me know in the comments below. Leave a like, comment, subscribe. If you're new to the channel, recommend some more videos like this that you want me to check out, or any videos in general. You know your boy got y'all. Follow my second and third channels, or subscribe to them, Pnfkeith and Pnfkeith Talks. I will be uploading new content on both of those videos. Both of those channels today, most likely. And follow me on Instagram, Twitter, TikTok, and Twitch. Much love to everybody out there. Peace.